Kathy Sorrow, and welcome to this stress relieving yin practice. Stress and anxiety manifest as tension in the body. Many of us experience this tension in the shoulders, lower back, and hips. Because of its slow and relaxing nature, yin yoga can be calming for both the body and mind. These specific yin yoga poses soothe the nervous system and target the areas of the body where we typically hold tension caused by stress. Practice these poses whenever you feel anxious or if you know that you'll be going into a stressful situation. They are also great before bedtime to help you get ready for a good night's sleep. Let's start in a comfortable seat. Maybe you'll need a blanket. You're sitting on a blanket to raise your sit bones just a little bit. And if a cross-legged seat feels uncomfortable, maybe you come into a 90 and 90 shape. Whatever seated position feels comfortable for you, let's start to tap into our breath. So closing down the eyes. Start to meet yourself in this present moment. Taking a deep breath in, breathing in some acceptance for yourself, maybe some love. And exhaling any judgment or negativity. On your next inhale, tell yourself, I am safe, I am calm, I am relaxed. And as you exhale, release any tension or stress that you might be holding. Take another inhale here. And exhale, sigh it out through the mouth. Now in this practice, we'll be staying in these different shapes for 2 to 3 minutes. Take your blanket and go ahead and roll it up into, not quite a jelly roll, but so maybe fold it over twice so it looks like this. And find a wall close by. Take the blanket nice and close to the wall and take your right hips and sit them right on top of the blanket. Coming down onto your back, sending your legs up the wall. This is how we're going to start. And walking your heels up the wall, really place your sit bones nice and close. Allowing your arms to come down by your sides, palms facing up. Or maybe they're in a T shape. Or maybe goal pose shape. Whatever feels best to you, we'll be here for 3 minutes. Maybe noticing the energy shift with the reversal of blood flow. Noticing where you might be gripping or clenching. Breathing into that space and exhaling to let it go. We'll be in this shape for another 30 seconds or so. Enjoying this very gentle inversion. Know this is here for you anytime during your day where you can take a short break for 5 minutes, sending that message to your nervous system that all is well. And go ahead and start to walk your heels down one side of the wall until your feet reach the floor. And make sure you're on the middle of your mat, coming all the way down to your back, taking a reclined side bend. So extend your arms above your head, and let's take a full body stretch here, really reaching our arms and our legs away from our center, hugging every muscle to every bone. And go ahead and let that go. And either clasp your hands above your head, or your right hand can clasp your left wrist. Let's shimmy our shoulders off to the right. So we're feeling a bit of tension in our underarm and our right thoracic area. Our left side, our left underarm. And then walk your heels off to the right. This is Bananasana, supine side bend. And if this feels like enough sensation, never a sharp pain, but sensation is okay. If this feels good, stay here. If you'd like a little more, you can cross that left ankle over the right. We'll be here for two minutes. Breathing into any sensation, breathing into any sort of tension, noticing where do you feel this in your body. Breathing in that space and exhaling to soften. Staying here for a few more seconds. If you've crossed your left ankle over the right, go ahead and release that. Take your left heel back to the center and your right heel to follow. And then take your arms back above your head, finding that long line of energy from the tips of your fingers to the tips of your toes. And let's take another full body stretch here in the center, hugging every muscle to every bone. Get long. And exhale, float your hands down by your sides, palm facing up to release. Just give yourself a few rounds of breath here to relax and let that pose settle. And on your next inhale, arms rise above your head and take that clasp, whether you clasp your hands together or left hand grabs the right wrist. Just take your shoulders and your arms off to the left. Feeling that stretch in the right side body from your underarm to your hip. And then walk your left heel off to the left and then your right heel off to the left. And if this feels like enough sensation, stay here. Or maybe you cross your right ankle over your left and just notice. Notice if one side feels differently than the other, and again, breathing in that acceptance and exhaling any judgment. Notice if there's any gripping or clenching, and let that go. And whatever comes up for you, just notice and allow it. And then let it go. We'll be here for 2 minutes. We'll be here for a few more seconds. And when you're ready, uncross the right ankle, take your right heel down beneath your hips, and then your right heel comes to the center. And then slowly walk your hands back up above your head. Release that clasp and take a full body stretch here. And exhale, roll over onto your right side and press yourself up to a seat with your legs extended out in front of you, grabbing your blanket. Taking your blanket underneath your knees and extending your legs long, rooting down into your sit bones. On your next inhale, crown of the head grows tall. And exhale, walk your hands forward as you hinge at the hips, folding forward. And then when you can't fold any longer, round down over your legs. Allow your neck and head to just let go. And walk your hands as forward as you can. Caterpillar pose. Really notice any tension. Remembering that you are safe. Breathing into those areas of sensation and exhaling, giving yourself permission to soften and release. And if you do gain any more space as time goes by, I encourage you to walk your hands forward and maybe fold a little more deeply. be here for a few more moments. And on your next inhale, go ahead and lift your head, lift your chest, and start to walk your hands back towards your hips. Growing tall. Removing the blanket out from underneath your knees. And go ahead and shift to one side onto your hip and come to hands and knees. Your knees are directly below your hips. Your wrists are directly below your shoulders. And let's take a couple of cat-cow here. So inhale, lift the crown of your head, lift your tailbone. And exhale, round the back. Let's do that one more time. Inhale to a cow tilt. And exhale to cat. Coming back to that neutral spine, preparing for the melting heart pose. Walk your hands forward about 12 inches. And then send your sit bones to the sky. The forehead or chin comes down to the mat. Now maybe you feel like your forehead is the proper place to start, and that's fine. So go ahead and allow your chest, forehead to sink more closely to the mat. But as time goes on through our 2 minutes, if you feel like you can extend that shape and place your chin or your chest down on the mat, go ahead and ease into that. But never let the pose take away your breath. You always want to breathe through any sensation and never have any sharp pain. 2 minutes. Being in the melting heart pose for just a few more seconds. Start to shift forward onto your elbows and take your left palm and place it beneath your shoulder, pressing up, then your right palm beneath your shoulder, finding that tabletop. Coming on to your left hips, send your legs forward as you come back to sit tall, and place the soles of your feet together for butterfly pose. So your knees are falling off to the side, and maybe you bring your heels, your soles of your feet are together, and you bring your heels as close to your hips as possible while rooting down into the sit bones. Maybe you clasp your ankles. Maybe you clasp your toes and intertwine your fingers. Or maybe you keep your fingertips on your mat. So on your next inhale, crown of the head grows tall, stacking the spine. And exhale, walk your fingertips forward or your ankles or grab your feet, hinging at the hips until you can't fold anymore. And then round down over your feet. 2 minutes in this butterfly shape. And just notice, where do you feel this in your body? Allowing your knees to open maybe a little wider. Focusing on where there's any sensation, breathing into that area and knowing that you are calm. Releasing the neck and the head. Taking a few more seconds here in your butterfly shape. Start to walk your hands back towards your body. Taking your time to kind of unwind. Growing tall, taking a few breaths here. Helping your knees together, placing the bottoms of your feet back down on the mat. Extend your right leg off to the side, and then your left foot to the inside of your right leg. On your next inhale, exhale, hinging at the hips in a half butterfly shape, walk your hands forward until you can't walk them forward any longer. And then fold and relax over that right ankle. Maybe you make fists, stack your fists, and allow your forehead to rest. Or maybe you grab your blanket and put it on top of your heel as you fold over. Maybe that feels more safe and relaxing. Whatever feels best to you, stay here. Half butterfly.
Maybe walk your hands forward just a little more as gravity helps you create more space in those joints. And on your next inhale, start to walk your hands back towards your center and slowly, slowly come to rise. Go ahead and extend your left leg out in front of you, your right leg also, and just start to shake it out, preparing for butterfly shape on the opposite side. So taking your left leg off to the left and taking the sole of your right foot to the inside of the left leg. Inhale to grow tall, maybe even arms rise. And exhale, hinging at the hips, placing your hands back down on the floor, walking your hands forward. And then when you feel safe, go ahead and round down. Maybe stacking those fists, resting your forehead, or maybe grabbing the blanket right at your hips and fold. We'll be here for 2 minutes. One side might feel differently than the other. Just notice. Notice how it feels different. Breathing in. I am relaxed. Maybe walking your hands forward just a little more, maybe intensifying that little bit of tension or stretch. And then relaxing into that sensation. Taking a few more rounds of breath here. Slowly walk your hands back to center. Come up and sit tall. Moving your prop away from you. Extend that right leg to meet the left. And just kind of bend in and out of the knees, shaking the legs out to let it go. Coming on to one side of your hip or the other, come back into a tabletop shape. Maybe swaying your hips from side to side, kind of letting that go, maybe taking a cat-cow here. Whatever feels best to you. Take your right knee behind your right wrist and heel toe that right shin a little more parallel to the front edge of your mat. It doesn't have to be completely parallel, just as far as what feels comfortable to you. And then walk your left knee back. So when you start to feel that sensation, preparing for sleeping swan. So maybe you'd like to tuck your blanket underneath that right hip, just to bring the floor out, bring the floor up underneath of you a little more closely. Or Maybe you'd like to bring that blanket underneath your chest, coming down onto the right elbow and then the left if that feels available. Maybe you stack your fists and rest your forehead there, or maybe you stack your palms. And as time goes on, if you feel like it's available, you can walk your hands forward. And forehead comes to the mat. 2 minutes in Sleeping Swan, taking it however you feel most comfortable. If this feels at all tender on your left knee, feel free to unroll the blanket and put the blanket underneath your left knee, or even the top of your left knee and your left foot if it feels tender. Breathing in to that tension and exhaling to relax. Taking a few more moments in your Sleeping Swan. Go ahead and start to walk your hands back to your center. And remove the blanket. Tuck onto the left toes and just kind of work your way back into your tabletop shape. Maybe walk your hands forward about 6 inches and send your hips, or sink your hips toward the floor just to release that stretch. Come back into your tabletop, taking that shape on the opposite side. So left knee comes behind the left wrist, and then just heel toe your shin a little more parallel to the front of the mat, and walk that right knee and right foot towards the back of the mat until you find that sensation. And remember, you can unwrap the blanket and put it underneath your knee and the top of your foot, or maybe underneath your left hip, underneath your chest. As you come down to your left elbow, if that's available. If this is where you are and this is where you feel that sensation, this is all for all the same benefits. So stay right here. Maybe as you breathe, you can release onto your left elbow and then your right. Maybe your forehead rests on your stacked fists or your stacked palms. Or maybe you extend your arms out in front of you for that full Sleeping Swan. 2 minutes. Noticing what comes up, noticing, again, that sensation, physical or emotional, and just remembering I am calm,
I am relaxed. I am safe. Taking a few more moments in your swan. Start to slowly and mindfully walk your hands back to your center, removing the blanket, walking that right knee forward, coming back to that tabletop, shifting both palms forward and sinking your hips toward the mat. Shoulders are away from the ears, and just find a little release here. Come back to tabletop. Knees very wide, maybe even opening up the blanket if your knees are feeling sensitive. Take your knees nice and wide, big toes to touch. Send your hips back to your heels, walk your hands forward. Forehead to the mat, chest to the mat, child's pose. Enjoying this place of centering, taking 2 minutes. Make this feel good. You can also, if this feels like too much, you can bring your knees underneath your chest. Your knees are together, forehead to the mat, and allow your arms to rest down by your side. If that feels better, take that here.
Taking a few more moments in your child's pose. Slowly walk your hands back to center. And removing that blanket, come to a seat, preparing for our square pose. So opening, knees are bent, feet flat on the floor. Opening up that left knee, take your right foot and place it so your left shin is parallel to the front edge of the mat. And then stack your right shin over top of the left. This also can be known as fire log pose. Let me show you this way. And if this feels okay, remember, sensation is fine. Pain, sharp pain is not. But if you feel fine here, place your hands on your thighs. Spine is tall. You can stay here for 2 minutes. Or you can place that folded blanket underneath your knee, your top knee. Here. Both feet are flexed to protect that knee. And just notice. Maybe you'd like to take eagle arms. Bring your arms out into a T shape, crossing your left arm underneath your right, and allowing the backs of the hands to touch, or maybe your palms to touch, lifting your elbows. And just breathe. Go ahead and release the arms. And then your hands are behind your hips, releasing the legs. Knees are bent, feet out in front of you. And let's switch legs. So your original, I'm mirroring you now, so I've lost count, but the opposite knee comes underneath, opens up, and your foot is flexed. And then stacking the opposite leg over top. So your shins are parallel. And this time, clasp your hands behind your back and press your knuckles into the floor for just a moment to counteract that eagle shape. And then release. Place your hands on the tops of your thighs and use the blanket accordingly. Maybe this side feels a little different and you feel okay to release into this shape even though the right knee doesn't come down to the left ankle. Or maybe you need that block. Staying here for 2 minutes. And go ahead, extend your arms into a T shape.
Crossing your right arm underneath the left, and either backs of the hands touch or maybe the palms touch, and lift the elbows. Breathing into the shoulders, breathing into the back, breathing into any place that feels tension, and exhaling to release. Maybe you feel inclined to fold over your legs. Maybe you stay sitting tall. Whatever feels best to you. Go ahead and take a few more moments in this square pose with eagle arms. And then release the hands. Place your hands behind your hips. Unwind those legs. Place your feet out a little further than hip distance apart, and allow your knees to fall over to the right. And then inhale back to center, and exhale. The knees can fall over to the left. And inhale back to center, finding your way onto your back. Preparing for a reclining twist. Extend your left leg long. Shoulder blades are nice and flat to the back. Hug your right knee into your chest. Extend your right arm off to the side, either in a T shape or a cactus shape, guiding your right knee across your body with your left hand, and allowing that shoulder to reach for the floor. Maybe it's glued to the mat, maybe it's coming up, but just notice and reach that right shoulder toward the floor as your left knee crosses your body. Your gaze is to the right. And breathe. Enjoying that space that's created in between each vertebrae with this gentle twist. And release any areas that are clenching or gripping. Make this feel good. Just take a moment to notice, where is that right knee now in comparison to where it started? Inhale, slowly and gently come back to center, hugging that right knee nice and tight to the body. Extending that right leg long, hugging that left knee in.
left knee in. Taking your left arm out to the side, either in a goalpost shape or a T shape, guiding that left knee across your body with your right hand. Gaze is to the left, really reaching that left shoulder down towards the mat as best you can. And breathe. We'll be here for 2 minutes. Two more rounds of breath here in your reclining twist. Coming back to center, slowly bring that left knee back into your chest. Hug it nice and tight. Hug your right knee and your left knee tight towards your armpits, your underarms. And either staying here, really feeling good about your entire spine, except your neck, rooting down into the mat, knees open wide, hips open wide. Or maybe you reach in between your knees and grab your ankles with the soles of your feet toward the sky. Or maybe you grab the outer edges of your feet. This is called stirrup pose, or otherwise known as happy baby. Whatever feels best to you, go ahead and take that shape. 2 more minutes. We're preparing for our final resting pose, Shavasana. Breathing in to the back body. Again, noticing any sort of tension and soften there. release your feet or your knees or your ankles and extend, grabbing your blanket and rolling up onto your seat. Let's take our blanket and roll it into a jelly roll. And then slowly come down where your blanket is right at your sacrum and your spine tracks down over the blanket. And you want your head to be laying on the blanket too. Extend both legs long. Maybe take your feet just a little wider and open up your arms into a T shape. This is our final resting pose, Shavasana. Go ahead and close down your eyes. And soften your brow. Allow your eyes to sink more deeply into their sockets. Release your jaw. Maybe allow your lips to part just a bit and your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Feel your arms and legs getting heavy as any stress or tension that might remain just melts away. There is nowhere to go and nothing to do. Just breathe. Start to bring some movements back to your fingers and your toes. Maybe take a few rounds of deeper breath as you come back to the room. And when you're ready,
Roll over onto your right side, hugging your knees towards your chest and using your arm as a pillow. And remembering this practice as we move through the day, knowing that I am safe, I am calm, I am relaxed. Pressing yourself up into a comfortable seat, palms together at your hearts, chins bowed. Thank you so much for sharing in this practice with me. It's an honor to be your teacher. Open up, let go, and shine bright. Namaste.